The world ended on a quiet morning. No one saw the ships coming. They appeared in the sky like dark stars, silent and massive. At first, people thought it was some kind of miracle, a sign of first contact. Cameras flashed, newscasters screamed with excitement, and children pointed up at the glowing shapes above the clouds. Humanity had dreamed for centuries of meeting life among the stars. They never imagined the meeting would start with fire. The first shot came without warning. A beam of light fell from the heavens, white and sharp like the anger of a god. It hit New York first. The entire city vanished in seconds. Glass melted, concrete turned to ash, and millions of lives disappeared in a single flash. The shockwave traveled for miles. Within minutes, half the eastern coast of America was gone. Then came the others: Beijing, London, Moscow, Karachi. Each city fell under the same light. The aliens did not speak. They did not send a message. They simply burned the world. People called them the Velthar after the strange word found on a captured transmission. They were tall, insect-like beings with cold crystal eyes. Their ships looked like black wings stretching across the sky. They didn't come to rule. They came to wipe out anything that might resist them. Earth's defenses tried to fight back. Missiles were launched, fighter jets soared, but none of it mattered. The Velthar weapons were too fast, too precise, too powerful. The human fleets were destroyed before they even reached orbit. Within a single day, every government was silent. The internet, radio, satellites, all dead. Civilization fell in 24 hours. But humans were not gone. Deep under the mountains of the Himalayas, Commander Arya Holt stood in front of a cracked holographic map. The underground base was old, built long ago as a Cold War shelter, but it was now humanity's last command center. Around her, a few soldiers and engineers worked in silence. The air was filled with the smell of oil, metal, and fear. Arya was tall, with short brown hair and eyes that had seen too much death. Her uniform was torn, the Earth defense patch barely visible. She had lost everything in her home, her city, her family, but not her purpose. "Status on the outer sensors?" she asked quietly. "Still offline, ma'am," replied Sergeant Malik, a young technician with dirt on his face. "Radiation's too high on the surface, but we picked up movement near the ruins of Kathmandu. Could be Velthar patrols." Arya clenched her jaw. "Then they're looking for survivors." She turned to the rest of the room. "We can't let them think we're finished. If they believe Earth is dead, that's our advantage." For months, the survivors lived like shadows. They dug tunnels, built power systems from old generators, and scavenged anything they could find from the wrecked world above. Every day, more people found their way to the base. Wounded soldiers, scientists, even children. Some brought news, most brought stories of fire and loss. But there was also hope. In the lower hangar, engineers worked on something special: Project Revenant. It was Arya's idea, born from desperation. The plan was simple and insane: rebuild old human ships using scavenged Velthar parts, mix alien energy cores with human engines. It was dangerous, unstable, but if it worked, they might have a weapon strong enough to strike back. "Humans don't give up," Arya told her team one night as they worked beside the glowing engine core. "We adapt. We survive. That's what we do." Outside, the world was a graveyard. Cities were nothing but skeletons of metal. Forests were black. Oceans boiled in silence. From the orbit above, the Velthar observed everything. They sent drones to scan the surface, confirming the destruction. They believed Earth was finished, a dead world, a lesson to other species who might resist. But deep underground, humanity whispered through broken radios and old satellites. Hidden frequencies carried messages from one base to another. The old military codes were still alive. It was not much, but it meant something powerful. Humans were still fighting. Weeks turned into months. One cold night, Arya stood on the surface for the first time since the attack. She wore a cracked helmet and a radiation suit patched a dozen times. Around her were the ruins of what used to be a city. She wasn't even sure which one anymore. Everything was covered in ash. She looked up at the sky. Dozens of alien ships floated in the darkness like silent monsters. "You think you won," she whispered, her voice shaking inside her helmet. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," a voice crackled through her comms. "Commander, we finished installing the hybrid reactor. It's stable. For now." "Good," Arya replied, turning back toward the underground entrance. "Then it's time." 2 days later, a Velthar scout ship entered Earth's lower atmosphere. It was a small vessel, sent to gather samples and check for remaining energy signals. To the aliens, it was routine. They expected no resistance. But this time, the sky fought back. As the ship hovered over the Himalayas, a missile streaked upward from the mountains. The alien sensors detected it too late. The explosion tore through the scout ship's hull, sending flaming debris across the sky. The Velthar command ship in orbit received the distress call just seconds before the signal died. Commander Arya watched from the control room as the light of the explosion faded. Her team erupted in cheers, but she didn't smile. "That's one," she said softly. "We'll make them remember everyone they killed. It wasn't just an attack, it was a message. Earth was alive." The next few weeks were chaos for the Velthar. Their patrols started vanishing in the atmosphere. Supply ships disappeared near the asteroid belt. Unknown signals jammed their communications. Every time they thought they had crushed the last human resistance, a new attack came from another direction. In truth, humanity was still small and broken. They had only a handful of working ships, each built from scavenged alien wrecks. But they were unpredictable, brave, and angry. They learned fast. Every alien ship they destroyed became another tool in their hands. Inside the underground base, Arya and her team pushed harder. Engineers worked without rest. Scientists studied captured alien weapons. Mechanics built new fighters using alien armor. Hope grew like a tiny flame in the dark, but it wasn't without cost. The Velthar began targeting every known bunker. Survivors were hunted. Thousands died every week. Still, more people kept fighting. From the ashes of every ruined city, new resistance groups appeared. Farmers with rifles, doctors with drones, miners turning drilling lasers into weapons. Everyone played a part. One night, as Arya walked through the dim tunnels, she stopped at a wall covered in old photographs. Faces of lost soldiers, families, children, reminders of what had been taken. She touched the photo of a little girl smiling at the beach. It was her daughter. Her voice was a whisper. "We're still here, baby. We're still fighting." Then came the turning point. A spy drone brought back footage from orbit. The Velthar fleet was gathering above Mars. They were preparing for something big. Maybe another cleansing strike, maybe the end. Either way, it was now or never. Arya called her officers to the war room. The holographic map flickered weakly, showing dots of light, human signals scattered across the planet. "We can't fight them head-on," said Sergeant Malik. "We'd be crushed." "I know," Arya said. "But we can hit them where it hurts, their command ship." "You mean, go to orbit?" someone asked, shocked. "Yes," she said firmly. "We've got 3 working ships. The Revenant-class prototypes. They're not perfect, but they can fly. We'll use what we have, hit their command ship, and show the galaxy that humans don't kneel." There was silence, then a slow nod from every face in the room. They all knew it was suicide. But they also knew it was worth it. The next morning, the hangar roared to life. Engines screamed. Sparks flew. The ships rose from the ground, shaking the dust from centuries-old walls. They were ugly, welded metal, glowing alien cores, painted with human symbols of hope and revenge. As the first ship launched, Arya's voice echoed through the comms. "To anyone still listening, Earth lives. We fight not for survival, but for justice." The ships broke through the gray clouds, leaving trails of fire behind. The alien sensors caught them too late. From orbit, the Velthar saw something they hadn't seen before. Human ships rising from a world they thought was dead. They panicked. Drones scrambled. Weapons charged. But humans didn't hesitate. Missiles streaked across the void. Explosions lit up the dark like a new dawn. One Velthar destroyer went down, then another. For the first time, the aliens retreated. Arya's voice came through the static, calm and steady. "This is for the cities you burned. For the people you thought were gone, humanity stands. And this is only the beginning." The Velthar command ship turned its weapons toward Earth again, preparing another cleansing strike. But before they could fire, one of the human ships, Revenant One, rammed straight into their cannon array, destroying it completely. The explosion blinded the orbit sensors. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Silence filled the stars. Down below, in the mountain base, survivors looked up at the sky. For the first time since the invasion, they saw something other than fear. They saw fire, but this time it was their fire. Years had passed since the fire fell on Earth. The blue planet that once shined with life was now dark and scarred, a silent reminder of what had been lost. But far from that ruined home among the cold stars, humanity still lived. The survivors called themselves the Terran Resistance Fleet, a scattered collection of stolen ships, hidden colonies, and brave people who refused to die quietly. They lived in the shadows of asteroids and dead moons, rebuilding what they could. Their ships were ugly and old, built from a mix of human metal and alien scraps. But they worked, and every ship carried the same mark on its hull, a burning blue sphere split by fire. A symbol of Earth, a symbol of revenge. Commander Aria Holt had become the heart of it all. Her name was whispered like a legend among the stars. Some called her the Ghost of Earth. Others called her the Woman who made the aliens bleed. She didn't care what they called her, she only cared about the mission. The Velthar Empire still ruled the galaxy with fear. They had conquered dozens of species, crushing any who dared to resist. But humans had done what none before them had managed. They fought back. From their hidden base in the asteroid belt, the Resistance planned their biggest move yet, Operation Dawnfire. It was simple and impossible at the same time. They would attack the Velthar homeworld itself. Inside the flagship Vengeance, Arya stood before the large viewing window, staring out into the sea of stars. Her once black uniform was now faded gray, patched and burned from years of battle. Her hair had turned silver at the edges, but her eyes were still sharp, cold fire burning behind calm control. Beside her stood Sergeant Malik, older now too, with a scar running across his cheek. He looked at the map projected before them. It showed the enemy system, a blazing red world surrounded by hundreds of defense platforms and tens of thousands of alien ships. Even if we reach the planet, Malik said quietly, they'll tear us apart before we get close. Arya didn't look away from the stars. We won't reach the planet, she said. But our weapon will. She turned to face her officers. Around the table sat men and women who had fought for a decade without rest. None of them flinched at the impossible. On the table was a hologram of Project Revenant's core, a weapon so powerful it was never meant to exist. Built from alien antimatter and the last nuclear cores from Earth's ruins, it could destroy an entire fleet, or a planet. But there was a price. Once it was armed, there would be no way to escape the blast. This is our last chance, Arya said. If we fire the Revenant core at their homeworld, the war ends. If we fail, humanity ends. Silence filled the room. Then Malik nodded slowly. Then let's finish it. The fleet began to move. Hundreds of human ships, from small fighters to massive carriers, launched from the asteroids and hidden moons. Their engines burned bright blue against the black sky. The Velthar picked up the movement immediately, and alarms echoed through their empire. The enemy fleet formed a wall between the humans and their world. They outnumbered the Resistance 100 to 1, but humans didn't care. They were tired of hiding, tired of fear. As the fleet advanced, old battle songs echoed through the comm channels. Voices from across different ships joined in, deep, broken, proud. Some laughed, some cried. All of them knew this could be their final day. Arya listened in silence, feeling her heart heavy but calm. Commander, Malik said, enemy interceptors approaching fast. Then let's greet them properly, she replied. The battle began. The stars exploded with fire. Missiles streaked across the void. Plasma beams lit up space like lightning storms. Human ships dove between enemy lines, hitting weak spots, vanishing, then striking again. Every pilot fought like a legend. One fighter rammed straight into a Velthar cruiser, destroying it in a burst of light. Another human ship disabled an entire squad of drones by detonating its own power core. The humans knew they couldn't win by numbers, so they fought with creativity, chaos that the disciplined Velthar couldn't predict. But for every alien ship that fell, 10 more replaced it. Arya watched from the bridge as the Vengeance shook under fire. Sparks rained from the ceiling, alarms screamed, and smoke filled the air. Damage report, she shouted. Shields down to 40%, Malik yelled back. We can't take much more. Hold the line, Arya said. Her voice was calm but hard. We just need to buy time for the Revenant core to charge. Minutes turned into hours. The human fleet was being pushed back one ship at a time. The stars were filled with wreckage and drifting fire. Yet the humans refused to break. Every time a ship fell, its last transmission was the same. For Earth. Inside the Vengeance, the weapon core glowed like a small sun. The energy readings climbed higher and higher, unstable but steady. Charging at 93%, reported the engineer. We can fire in 3 minutes. Then a violent explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered out. Arya fell to one knee as smoke filled the command deck. Main reactor hit, Malik shouted. We've lost half our power systems. Arya wiped the blood from her face and forced herself to stand. Reroute everything to the weapon core, everything. But if we do that, do it, she snapped. We're not going home anyway. Malik looked at her for a long second, then nodded. Aye, Commander. Outside, the alien flagship, a massive black pyramid floating in orbit, turned its main cannon toward the human fleet. It was the same weapon that had burned Earth years ago. The same weapon that ended billions of lives in seconds. Arya stared at it through the view screen. So it's you, she whispered. You fired the first shot. Let's see how you liked the last one. She opened the comm channel to all ships. Her voice went across every human vessel, across every pilot and soldier still alive. This is Commander Arya Holt. The Velthar burned our cities. They thought they erased us, but look around you, we're still here. We fought through fire and darkness and we made it to their doorstep. This is for every life they stole. This is for Earth. 1,000 human voices answered back, for Earth. The Velthar flagship fired. A beam of blinding light tore through space, slicing through several human ships in a single blast. But before it could fire again, the Vengeance returned fire. The final shot. The Revenant core unleashed its energy, a white sphere expanding outward like the birth of a new star. The blast consumed the alien flagship instantly, spreading through their entire formation. Arya stood at the command window, watching the light grow brighter. Beautiful, she whispered. Malik looked at her, his voice trembling. We won't survive this, Commander. I know, she said softly. But they'll remember us. She touched the control panel one last time and sent a single message across the galaxy. You burned our world with your first shot. Now we return the favor, and this time we make it count. Then everything vanished in white light. Hours later, far across the galaxy, a faint signal reached a small outpost on a hidden moon. It was Arya's message. The humans there watched the transmission in silence, tears in their eyes. The stars outside the window glowed strangely, brighter than before. News spread slowly. The Velthar homeworld was gone. Their fleets had fallen silent. Their empire collapsed within weeks, torn apart by fear and rebellion from the other enslaved species. And the name human became a legend. The aliens whispered about them in fear. The species that rose from ashes. The ones who fought even after death. The ones who destroyed gods. Years later, children born on new worlds asked their parents what Earth was like. They were told stories of oceans and forests, of blue skies and laughter. But most of all, they were told about the people who never gave up. The men and women who turned tragedy into fire. On a small colony at the edge of known space, a statue stood tall. It showed a woman in a torn uniform looking up at the stars, holding a broken helmet in one hand. At the base of the statue were the words carved in simple letters. Commander Arya Holt. She fired the final shot. Beneath it was another line, smaller but just as powerful. They burned our cities. We burned their empire. In the end, humanity had no home, no planet, no capital. But they had something stronger. Unity, purpose, and a reputation carved into the fabric of the stars. Whenever a new species asked who the humans were, the answer was always the same: the ones who never surrender.